All matter is made of atoms. Atoms are mostly empty space. They consist of a very heavy, very dense collection of particles in the center called a nucleus. Around the nucleus, consisting of less than 1% of the mass of the atom, are electron orbitals. These are areas around which electrons can be found. What is an electron? Well, atoms are made of 3 subatomic particles. They are the proton, the electron, and the neutron. The proton and the neutron are found in the nucleus. They are also called nucleons for this reason. The electrons orbit around the nucleus at fixed distances, called orbitals or shells. The 3 subatomic particles are differentiated by their mass and their charge. Their relative mass is how heavy they are in relation to, well, a proton. So a proton has a relative mass of 1. A neutron has exactly the same mass as a proton, so we say it also has a mass of 1. An electron is much, much smaller and much, much lighter than a proton or a neutron. It does have a mass, but for our purposes, we'll say that its mass is 0. What differentiates them again is the relative charge. Protons have a positive charge, +1. Electrons have the same charge as a proton, but opposite. So they have a -1 charge. And the clue is in the name for the neutron. They have a neutral charge of 0. So the proton and the neutron are found in the nucleus and are known as nucleons. How do we know how many protons, neutrons, and electrons an atom has? Well, for that we look at our periodic table. I have here the periodic table symbol for carbon as an example, and you'll notice it has 2 numbers. We call the smaller of the 2 numbers the atomic or proton number. And the atomic number is the same for every atom of carbon, and it's always 6. That tells us the number of protons. So I know that every carbon atom has 6 protons. The larger of the 2 numbers, don't forget, they're not always in this order. Sometimes they're at the bottom, sometimes they're on the left. So you're looking for the larger of the 2 numbers. The larger of the 2 number is called the mass number. It's also called the nucleon number, which gives you a clue. It is the number of nucleons. So that is the number of protons plus the number of neutrons added together. So I now know that carbon has 12 nucleons, 6 protons. I know that a proton and a neutron have the same mass. That tells me it also has 12 minus 6, 6 neutrons. What about electrons? Well, in an atom, which is a particle with no charge, the number of positives must equal the number of negatives, telling me that the number of protons is equal to the number of electrons. So, for carbon as the example, it has 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. Be careful though, sometimes they are different numbers. For electrons, for example, if the particle is an ion, or for neutrons, if the particle is an isotope.